Scammers are always looking for ways to get a hold of your personal information. That's why it's essential you get rid of any old personal documents you might have lying around the house. But in this week's Fraud Watch, MTN's Jacob Furrer shows us why it's not enough to just throw out those papers.
Many of us are guilty of having old papers lying around, some with account information, social security numbers, and bank numbers, exactly the information that scammers are looking to get their hands on.
All they need are a few vital pieces of information, and if they can get a hold of those, they could open up an account in your name, they could do something in your name that could cause you harm and damage years into the future.
But don't fear, there is something you can do.
Shredding documents. That's one very, very key way that we keep our privileged information, our important information, out of their hands.
And if you think you're safe just throwing out your personal information, think again. Scammers aren't afraid to go through your trash.
Bank statements, old checkbooks, past tax returns, all of those things AARP recommends shredding. And while it may be time-consuming, making sure your information doesn't fall into the wrong hands could save you a headache in the long run. And for the information that you aren't ready to shred just yet,
we all have documents that we need to safeguard, like our most recent tax returns. Keep them in a safe place under lock and key that you and your loved ones can get a hold of.
A recent AARP study found most people agree shredding is important, but nearly half don't follow through. So take the time, shred those documents. Jacob Furrer, MTN News.
Now this weekend you can shred your documents for free if you're in Helena. AARP is hosting a shredding event in the Home Depot parking lot this Saturday from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Suggested tag for other stations. Oh, pardon me. Last year AARP hosted shredding events across the country as part of Operation Stop Scam. Over 1 million pounds of sensitive documents were destroyed. Well, switching gears to weather, let's toss it to meteorologist Lewis Stork. Lewis.
All right, thank you, Ken. Good morning, everyone. I have a few pictures that I want to show for you here this morning. These are sent into us by Shiloh earlier this morning. So you can see these are for the Clark Fork River there over near East Missoula. What we're looking at is those rivers running really high still. Shiloh, thank you for sending in these pictures here. So this is what we are going to see really for the next extended period of time. However, like we've been talking about, we have started to see these flood levels lower just a little bit. But here's another picture that Shiloh sent us in again this morning of the Clark Fork River running very high. And because of that, the flood warning is still in place for the area that's been all week long. This is for the Clark Fork River above Missoula. Now, like I mentioned, we are starting to see those water levels drop slightly. So what we are going to see with these, what we are seeing with this is the water level falling right around to around 9.5 feet. And that's going to be through Friday morning. So we could start to see some of those water levels drop slightly, but then they are going to look like to pick up as we roll into next week. Here's a flood advisory for the Seeley Lake area. This is the Clearwater River down to the Blackfoot River. And we are going to see some standing water along with some minor flooding in the rivers and streams. This will be reevaluated by Thursday afternoon. So here's the Clark Fork River above Missoula. This is the graph showing where it's at right now. The blue line is showing where it's at. You can see it was up in flood stage earlier this week. Then it's going to drop down, and it looks like it's going to be below flood stage through the weekend. This is for the cooler temperatures we've seen this week, also with the chilly overnight lows. However, rolling into next week, look how it's projected to pick right back up. There are indications that it could be maybe up to a foot higher to start next week than what it was at its highest point last week. And that's as warm temperatures are going to move back in, really increasing that snow.